Sure.
Alrighty, we are here. Hi, everybody. We are here to play the Elwood Expedition, which is, I was going to say it is it's powered by the apocalypse, that's for sure. It is also, alas, for the awful sea, but which is, by the way, a really fantastic rendition of Powered by the Apocalypse. Definitely a work of love. Lots of effort went into it. I highly, highly, highly recommend going and picking it up. But I have to be honest and say this is probably more inspired by Alas for the Awful Sea than a faithful rendition. You probably, like, if you want to learn how to play that game, there are probably better places to go. Or just go buy it and read it because it's actually very well written and lots of great information in it to really set the mood. But uh, I have not a lot of time. And I'm busy actually writing a game right now for Sunday. So this is going to be a little of a soft focus look at Alas for the Awful Sea. But first, let's introduce our players. Let's start with Batty.
Hey, I'm the Backwin. I stream on Twitch sometimes, but mostly this week I'll just be doing C plus content stuff. I'm playing Logan Turner, who is a mercenary on the ship, and yeah, that's all I know.
Awesome. Twi'lek.
Um, Hi, I'm Twillick. I shall be playing Ephraim Punctilius Whitaker. I am an old sea dog who is related to another member of the ship.
Mm, beautiful. Sin.
Hi, I'm Sin or Potato9 underscore juice on Twitch. I will be playing Minerva Olivia Bennett, who is the cook
Yes.
and has fun times.
And I'm sure is not creepy at all. Awesome.
Nope.
How about you, Tough?
Hi, I am 90 Tough Love, or Tough, or Torf, or Torful, or some other variety of nickname. I am a variety streamer on Twitch. I play lots of different games. Sometimes I run games like this, except usually it's masks. And we'll be doing that next Saturday.
Good.
I am playing Loretta Brooks, who is definitely not some sort of weird creature thing, but she is the Strider, or she kind of goes out and gets all the food for everybody. So she's an excellent, very good at fishing, oddly enough. Really, really weird. But
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Like almost like preternaturally good at fishing, I assume.
Yeah, almost.
Cool. So, very much like, you mentioned it yourself, Tough. Very much like Masks or Brindlewood Bay or Monsters of the Week or any of the other Powered by the Apocalypse games that we played here. From the character's perspective, this is largely contained in a playbook. So all the options that you have for your character, um, and as we kind of talk things out between the characters and kind of help to kind of complete some of those things, like figuring out who's connected to who, how. If you want to make a change to one of those selections, go ahead. It's easy enough. Um, Alas for the Awful Sea is a little bit different in that the playbook is kind of split between two things. There is the profession or the role that the character plays in the world and on their ship, or in their little town or wherever they happen to be located. And then there is their thing. The word is escaping me.
Descriptor.
The descriptor. So there's their outer self, how they represent themselves in the world, their skills, their equipment and abilities and things like that. And then there's their inner self, the things they feel, the things they believe. They might be monsters, who knows? The people they care about, etc. So when you create a character in Last for the Awful Sea, you actually can kind of pick from both pools. So it's a little mix and match, which is, I think, really one of the very clever things about the system. So everyone has selected both elements, and very much like all the rest of the Powered by the Apocalypse, there are some moves. This system has a few more moves, standard moves, than some of the other games that we played. But it's easy enough; it can all fit on one sheet. So I should tell 60 seconds or less about the setting. The default setting for Last for the Awful Sea is sometime the 19th century. England or Ireland, coastal village. It is a time of poverty, or the location wherever you are. It's about poverty. It's about subsistence. It's about the struggle for autonomy against power. There's a bunch of kind of inherent struggles. It was not a lovely period of time in that location. We're going to take some liberties and say that we are somewhere. Maybe it's off the coast of New England, in some sort of facsimile of the 19th century. It's a time when, I mean, there are wonders. I mean, go to Paris, go to New York, go to Vienna. I mean, the electric light and all sorts of advancement of technology and medicine is, astounding. But that has not reached your little village of Dunmire. In Dunmire, it's still very, very much about, working to put food on the table and not always even then being successful. Those who can fish do. Those who can't don't eat. Unless you happen to be wealthy and a landowner. In which case your world is very, very different. And none of you are. You work because you have to. Other than that, and the world is super spooky and there's weird stuff that happens, as we will see. But other than that, I haven't defined a lot about the setting. It is just a dirty, ratty, ramshackle little village of maybe 500 souls. You may not be from here, but this is somewhere that you are known and that you have potentially connections. So, who wants to start by telling us a little bit more about their character in terms of the role that they play on the ship and in the world, and maybe introduce some of the things that differentiate your character from others? Special things, fun things. Okay, Tough, you go.
Yeah. So Loretta is not from Dunmire. She's not really from the islands whatsoever, because she's sort of from the sea. She doesn't really tell people that, because most people freak out and run away screaming or try to kill her, which, she's not about. So she dons a human disguise and she fell in love with a human. They had a child together, and then her husband became a sailor and left and never came back. Unfortunately, their child was unable to really hide the fact that they were half, this. So that made a bit of a target on their back. Loretta tended to keep to herself, hiding away away from the village, but going into town, buying food and supplies, fishing, making money, doing what she had to do to support her family. Then her son got found and taken away. So she is trying very desperately to find him and bring him home.
Yes. Maybe he's being studied at Miskatonic University.
Who knows?
It's possible. All right. Volunteer, I'm just calling on people. All right, Sin.
Okay. Minerva is the cook. And her descriptor is the outcast. The outcast means that you've once sinned, so you're always a sinner.
Yes.
So she has a sin, which is a cold-blooded murder.
Ooh.
And her evidence of said sin is two things. She has a burn mark on her back, as well as like a fairly large scar also on her back that resembles the word mine, like M-I-N-E, as if she was marked, like as if someone carved in the word mine into her back. Don't know where she grew up, but it was a very poor family, and she didn't get a great education. So she only really knows how to cook and be a wife. She was sold when she was 20 to a older man who then married her off to his oldest son, who wasn't very nice to her, and she killed him in self-defense. And then the man then married her to the other son, which she also murdered. And then she sort of turned into a Black Widow of just marrying men and then murdering them. And now she's on the ship.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is it just that rumors, like, are there just rumors about, in terms of your status as the outcast, is it that people here in Dunmire and hereabouts just have heard rumors that you've, maybe have a checkered past? Or do people know or suspect that you may have either justified or not taken a life?
People may suspect that she has a checkered past. I mean, she doesn't get along well with the male species. And she's a very, she's not very, don't know what the word I'm trying to think of is, but she's easily triggered by certain situations because of her past. And she speaks mainly in third person. If you ask her a question, she'll be like, Minerva likes to eat. Speaking like that. Because she's not well educated.
I see. So people just have a sense that there's something off. They don't, and
Yeah.
but the typical person about town doesn't have a sense how capable you are if pushed too far.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, Twilight, talk to us about Ephraim.
Ephraim is the oldest character in the group. He's been to sea for quite a long time. While he's been out adventuring, he's seen many things, some of them quite strange. But when he came back home after a long journey, he discovered that most of his kin were dead, apart from one called Minerva, who he hasn't been able to track down.
Interesting. And what is your I forgot that it's falling out. The second part of your character, the thing. Descriptor. Yes. What is your descriptor?
The kinsman.
That's right. You were just describing that. So Minerva, perhaps Ephraim, you are related to Minerva through one of her husbands, or you and Ephraim could be actually blood relatives. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they could be blood relatives.
It's very distant. And perhaps Ephraim, you've been at sea for a very long time, and this would be, you said distant, so maybe a cousin's child, so a cousin a couple times removed or whatever. And you simply know, Minerva is an unusual name. So you just know a few things. And certainly maybe don't know, you probably knew she was born, but certainly don't have a sense of what her life has been up to this point. Interesting. Although I think as soon as you meet her, it's something's going on there. All right, Batty, what's up with Logan?
He's a mercenary, Just hanging out on the ship. Doesn't do anything. That's about it. Okay.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
I know. He he's from obviously not here. He's from a bit far away. Can't recall where exactly he's from. He doesn't like to talk about things like that. He just kind of moves from place to place, doing some mercenary work, finding people, killing people. He doesn't see any problem with it. It gets money, makes food on the table, all that kind of stuff. Well, he does really like he's also, I'm playing him as the confidant. So he likes secrets. He likes to figure out who everybody really is, and he will try to learn as much as he can. He's a seeker of knowledge for people.
Yes. Now, to be clear, killing people is against the law.
Is it though?
It really is. And if you kill people, they will hang you. If you're lucky.
Yep. That's only if you get caught.
Yes.
That's not if you kill people.
Yes.
It's just if you're bad at it.
Right. So there is, in fact, a thriving smuggling operation, or many smuggling operations up and down the coast and between the mainland and the islands. So it's, I assume, maybe perhaps you've done some work for local smugglers?
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that might be useful information and connections to have. And the chances of you being brought to justice for killing a smuggler are significantly lower than for killing a well-known townsperson. There just aren't that many kind of like contract hits in 18 whatever, mostly latter half of the 19th century, especially in a place where people are dirt poor.
Right.
They can maybe pay you with a day-old fish. But certainly being a resource for people who want to have situations resolved, and being good at listening and working your way into others' confidence could certainly be very helpful in that endeavor. So let's talk about your ship. Is any of you the captain? No. So now I know no one took the captain role, but that doesn't mean that one of you isn't the actual captain. This is independent of the playbook. And regardless, which one of you among the characters is in charge, meaning has, obviously in terms of seniority, it would be Ephraim. But is that right? Or is someone else higher ranking or have more status aboard?
No, I think Ephraim would be the captain or the highest ranked person.
Yeah, I think so too.
Even by his background of being on the sea a lot.
Yep.
Loretta might be trying to manipulate things in her own way, but she's not actively stepping out as I'm the leader. She's kind of just whispering whatever she wants to happen to Ephraim and trying to make it work for herself.
Ah, I see.
Yes.
And Loretta's obviously skills are very useful aboard ship because you're very good at helping to find, shoals of fish and seals and various other things for the ship to bring in.
Very good at helping us avoid shipwrecks and reefs and all that thing that's under the water and hard to see. Really weird.
Yeah.
She's just a natural.
So what's the name of your ship? It should be something gloomy, something gothic. Or it could be like the HMS Daisy or
It is pretty gothic.
SS Honeysuckle. I mean, this is probably going to get silly, even though the setting is supposed to be very dark and stormy night. But that's fine. So, tell us about your ship. What do you think?
I think somebody had a name for what, but I can't find it.
Yeah. definitely not flipping through fantasy name generators right now, seeing if I can find something.
Well, we can. Someone just whoever chimes up first with something that everyone likes. Doesn't matter. We don't have to. It's like so. Since none of you are the actual captain, I think this is a relatively large ship. A sloop. And while many of the folk about town who are able to make a living fishing operate in small boats near the shore, your ship frequently either goes out into the channel between the island and the mainlands, or even goes further out into the Atlantic when the weather appears to be relatively sound. And you also, I suspect, Loretta, are fairly good at, you're no soothsayer, but you're fairly good at having a sense for when maybe the weather's getting a little bit too rough.
Yeah.
So your captain is Jonas Elwood. He is the youngest son of the Elwood family, which is a very old family on the island. By the eldest son, I mean the only surviving son. He is likely in his 40s, a very well-kept man, and for someone who lives a relatively hard life, seeming surprisingly untouched by the passage of the years. Maybe a little bit of salt and pepper at the temples. But someone who is fastidious. He demands this aboard ship. He, unlike most of the captains in and around Dunmire, he wants his crew to be healthy. He wants them to be clean. He does not allow cursing aboard. He does not allow drinking aboard, other than for medicinal reasons. And that has its ups and its downs. He can be quite kind, to the extent that he, like, if someone is injured, he wants to make sure that they are taken care of. But he doesn't form connections. He's not what one might call friendly. He is by far much more nice, much more friendly and personable than his father. Ezekiel Elwood is 100 years old. No one really knows. No one has seen him in town in a decade. People think that he might be dead until a servant with a note will show up in town asking for something strange or demanding someone come up to his house for an audience. The house is very large and would be grand if it had had any maintenance in 30 years. The inclement weather, the constant wind, the sea spray has taken whatever paint was on this structure off years ago. And Jonas doesn't spend a lot of time out there, probably because it's a nightmare and he is a little OCD. So, but that, though, they are the power in town. They are the wealthy in town. And you probably count yourselves fortunate being able to work for a captain who is odd, but isn't abusive, and at least sees to it that you have a good cook and lays in good stores. I mean, the meat is all salted, and there's probably more fish than you would like, but there's like vegetables and fruit and things like that he buys at considerable expense. Minerva, I would say he even, not himself, but through maybe the bosun or the quartermaster, has even offered, if you're willing, to help you with your letters. I think, knowing that you are less well educated, he would at least make it during your meal breaks. You have an opportunity to study because he believes that education brings one closer to God. He is a very devout man as well. His father, probably not so much. But those are the only two Elwoods left, in fact. Minerva, he is not married, although you probably have heard that at one time he was married. So if you're looking for husband number 10, I mean, he's technically available. But
It's Shirley, too.
right. So any thoughts on the name of the ship? Tough has one, I can tell by your face.
I don't have anything.
You don't?
No, I mean, I'm clicking through trying to like get ideas, but nothing's sticking out.
Perhaps the porpoise.
Say that again?
The porpoise.
Oh, yeah.
The porpoise, yeah.
Yeah. Or as we would say, porpoise, but yes, porpoise. So, yeah, which is a lovely name, right? That's the figurehead. Of course, it's now blackened just through the constant application of tar to keep the ship from leaking. The ship is clean. It's kept in good trim, but it's not. It's a working ship. So adornment is not something that Captain Elwood has invested in. So we'll say it is coming up on the end of the season. So it starts to get kind of iffy in October, but certainly from November until March, April, it becomes challenging. Big ships like this are often moored. It's still possible to catch fish, but the weather is less frequently cooperative. And the typical kind of economy is that there's a bit of a boom in the summer as more and more people are able to work, and the common folk will just store away as much as they possibly can for a relatively lean winter. But it seems to work. It keeps people's skin and bones together. This year has been unfortunate, however. Many of the catches have been strange. Unusual species of fish never before seen, or perhaps fish that have been blighted. An unusual number of eyes. Fish that when you haul them up in your nets make strange mewling sounds, almost like a kitten or a human child. It's somewhat off-putting. And the people of Dunmire, being very, very superstitious, have seen it as the work of the devil or a curse. A substantial portion of the population here, relatively recent, like as in a generation or two, immigrants from the British Isles. So there are myths here about the fairies and Kellach, the old crone of winter, and the island of lost things and Selkies and things. And then there's, there are some folks who have come from the Nordics or Eastern Europe. So there's a bit of a mishmash of very kind of puritanical Protestant religion and the folk myth that people brought with them when they crossed for a better life, only to find maybe it's technically a little better, but it's not great. So tensions are high in Dunmire because many individual stores, they haven't been able to make as much money selling their wares or their catches, and many family stores are disturbingly light. Now, the Porpoise has done quite well because Loretta. But even you have been disturbed to see just the number of fish that you kind of wind up throwing back because, tuna aren't supposed to have tentacles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yes. And Captain Elwood he persists in requiring you all to stand and pray at the beginning, every time you go out to sea and every time you haul in a catch. I think partly trying to drive away whatever force it is that is poisoning the sea with its eldritch essence. But you'd think that at least one large ship being successful would make things better for Dunmire. But the people of Dunmire really, really don't like that somehow, magically almost, the Porpoise has been able to continue to roll in with catch after catch as they scrabble for, and sometimes resort to actually eating the misshapen catch that shows up in their nets. So, as you walk through town, there are some, signs against the evil eye, some spits, some curses under the breath. It's almost certainly envy, but also a bit of a murmur that perhaps the captain and maybe even all the crew have made a pact with the devil. How else could you explain one ship's ability to weather such an unfortunate series of events when everyone else is suffering? So, what are you all doing? We'll start with you in town.
I think Loretta is very intrigued by what's going on with the fish. So she's probably been going around to all the different shops and trying to examine the different catches if they have pulled up some of the odd ones. And she's probably willing to pay a tiny bit for it, if only to get some of the people off her back because she really doesn't want all the attention.
I will say that what folks have done is they have laid out their meager offerings of relatively normal fish. I mean, maybe they've had some extra appendages lopped off, or in filleting just accidentally removed any sign that there was a third eye in the fish. But the more unusual specimens are put in crates out back for dogs or the unfortunate about town. But it's a bit of an out of sight, out of mind. So I will say Loretta is probably snooping around behind the fishermen's huts and hovels and storefronts here in town. Just
Yep.
maybe poking with a stick at a slightly mucilaginous, maybe slightly still moving mass of something that came from the sea. What is anyone else doing? You've just come off the ship from a long trip.
I am going to the church because although I'm not the biggest believer, I do listen to the captain when he prays, and I can see that these mutant fish are a dark sign. So I'm going to go to the church, I'm going to pray there, and if along the way I see any merchants who have some dubious quality produce, I'm just going to take a note in my mind to avoid those people because they might be infected by whatever this is.
Ah, so you are maybe at least half a believer that there's something unusual happening.
Yes.
Huh. I think as you sit in St. Brigid's Chapel, praying for yourself and for the people about town, I think I would like you to sense what's beyond. So you are going to take 2d6, you're going to roll them, and you are going to add whatever number you have in beyond.
That's a 7, and my beyond is 2, so that's 9.
Excellent. So, you had been taking note of fishermen's stalls and even, some of the fishermen who were dragging in, crates or sacks of fish to salt them or dry them or smoke them. And this is largely people who are stocking up for the winter for themselves and their families. And you had seen some sort of strange fish-like creature fall out of one of these sacks and kind of flop its way into a bush. And it had very, very unusually large eyes. And as you're praying, you keep getting a glimpse or a sense of, like, there's something important. Like, that was, like, you're supposed to do something about that specific thing. You keep seeing it and you feel, you're not quite sure exactly what you believe, but you feel almost a pull. Like there is an answer. If you can but find that fish. Or fish-like disgusting thing. What do you do?
And this is a vision.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fragment, it's just a glimpse, but it's more of a, you keep coming back to it in your mind. And as it keeps coming back to you, the certainty grows in you that you saw that for a reason.
I am not the best finder of things, or at least I've never done it before. So I'm going to go and find Logan, I feel.
Okay.
Or at least I'm going to try and look for him.
Yeah. Where is Logan?
Logan probably went to a pub or a tavern.
Yes. There's
local watering hole to learn things, we'll say.
And you've been a week, we'll say, well, not quite a week, several days aboard ship with no respite in terms of the alcoholic beverages.
Of course.
So there are, that is the first place many fishermen and ship's crewmen go. And you have some pennies in your pocket, which is here enough to buy a very sour ale or probably slightly toxic spirits. Just don't drink too much or else you'll go blind. So as you enjoy your drink, are you imbibing to get a little loopy, or are you mostly just nursing and listening around and seeing what you pick up?
Just nursing it and just trying to listen into what people are talking about. The talk of the town.
So
that's not us, hopefully.
Well, with the winter rolling in, you sense that the tension here in Dunmire has gone up, and you see as you walked in many eyes turn toward you. People here in town don't really know you, but they know the ship that you work on. And even if they didn't, the fact that you're walking in and you are, as required by Captain Elwood, relatively clean, suggest people know. So I think I would like you to read a situation by rolling plus brain.
I got a 8 total.
All right, you get to ask 2 questions of who are here, who or what is most vulnerable to me, who or what is my biggest threat, what should I be on the lookout for, who or what is in control here, what here is not what it seems, or what is my best way in, out, or past.
Okay. First one I want to go for is what should I be on the lookout for?
There are a group of men, 3 of them, who, I mean, bushy beards, kind of ratty knitted caps pulled down low, grubby. I mean, you can practically smell them from here. At first pass, they look like any other fisherman, maybe from a town further up or down the coast, who have stopped in here for the night, because they aren't locals. But as you look at them and you see them occasionally cast a sidelong glance at you, you think you've seen one of them before in some of your work for one of the nastier smuggling rings.
And my second question is, what's my best way out?
Your best way out. Just walked in the door. You see Ephraim walk in.
Perfect.
And you realize that if you just go, Ephraim, good to see you, and then kind of head out, that will at least buy you some time. In case you don't know for sure what they're up to, but it's just they noticed you like everyone else, but maybe kept putting their eyes on you maybe a little bit more often than was comfortable.
Yeah, I think I will greet Ephraim and walk out of the tavern with him.
Just kind of grab the elbow and say, let's go.
Yes, I see you have great news to tell me. Let's go outside and talk. It's rather stinky in here. Too much salt.
Yeah, several fishermen nearby just kind of, because you're putting on airs like you're better than them. But that's fine.
Saltier airs.
So, what happens?
I talk to Logan. I tell him of my vision, and then to tell him that this is a blighted town. Nothing good can come from this. We should leave this place.
I agree, Ephraim. The beer is shit anyway, so
It really is.
There's no reason to stay here. I would even say that the water is probably harmful for us. We'd better have better luck drinking off the boat.
Yep.
The only thing is, the fish I saw in my vision, it's extremely important that we find it somehow. I don't know why.
You want us to look for a fish in a bush?
Yes.
Is this a metaphorical bush or a real bush?
This is a real bush somewhere around this town.
How big is the town?
It's 500 people, maybe a few. And that's like 500 people who are in like the county. So that's not like that live in the actual town itself. It's small. It's more of a village.
Got it.
But with an extended population of, people trying to raise a little produce and a few head of livestock inland.
Got it. Ephraim, do you have a description of this bush?
Well, I mean, right about
shrubbery.
where it was. It was between where you got off, between the docks and the church. So you have a general idea. It was just a scrubby bush. Quite near... I don't know what the proper term is, but the net maker. So relatively near the net maker and mender shop. So you think you could probably find it.
In that case, Logan and I will start heading in that direction.
All right. What is Minerva doing?
I think Minerva would have taken Captain Elwood up on his offer of teaching her how to like study so that she's more educated.
So we'll say a little bit before all this, as everyone else had filed off the ship, you had gone to the captain's quarters and knocked on the door. And he had opened it and looked at you and asked you, "Yes? What is it that you want?"
Minerva wants to study with you, sir.
I'm afraid I have many demands upon my time. I'm required to visit my father, so I will be away for a few days. But I will leave a note for the bosun. Sunday after services, I'll ask him to stay behind at the church, and he will give you some tutelage. Will that suffice?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Now, there is you do have the ability to manipulate other people. If that's not what you actually wanted to happen, you could try to manipulate him. But he doesn't have any interest in teaching you himself.
Yeah, she can try to manipulate him into studying.
All right.
Throw on the seduce.
Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead? So what you want is for him to teach you himself, yes?
That is correct.
All right. So, first of all, go ahead and roll plus beauty for me.
2d6, right?
Yes, 2d6 plus your beauty.
The 12.
Wow. Minerva is really laying it on strong. The captain doesn't really acknowledge or seem to pick up on any kind of attempt at seduction. It's more that you kind of apply your presence and charm, and he sees you as a person as opposed to a member of his crew. How old is Minerva?
I think she's 25.
Okay.
Give or take a few years. Around like 25, 27-ish.
I think he will say, "You know, you remind me of my daughter. Or you're the same age that she would have been had she survived. I take it you have no family here in Dunmire."
No, sir.
Well, if it were my child, I wouldn't want her at loose ends. This is not a friendly place for women, much less for women who don't have men to protect them. What I can do, my visit to my father is something that I'm obligated to, and I cannot delay any longer. But what I can do is secure you a room. I can speak to the rector and ask him if he wouldn't mind watching over you in my absence. And when I return, we will have a conversation, not as employer and employee, but person to person, about how perhaps I can help you, and education being a significant part of that. Do you agree? Do you promise that you will speak to the rector, stay with him, and do as he tells you?
Minerva agrees, sir.
All right. Well, it works because you made a promise and you agreed to it. Now you don't have to keep that promise, but the consequences of breaking it could be who knows what. But he will sit down at his desk. He will write you out a note in lovely flowing script. His office or his cabin, spotlessly clean, smells of like fresh linseed oil and maybe a little bit of lavender or something. And he will hand it to you, and it is addressed to the rector. I said, well then, go straight there. Don't be tempted by the sinful goings on at the tavern. I suggest you go straight to the church. And the rector will see to you. And I will call upon you in a few days when I have returned.
Thank you, sir. Then Minerva will turn and walk away.
All right. So, are you going to the church?
Yes.
Perfect. So as Ephraim and Logan are kind of poking around, looking for the right bush, Loretta is kind of examining some things behind the netmaker shop, in fact. So you hear some voices, I think it was around here, and kind of poke your head around and see some familiar faces, just as Minerva makes her way down and by street I mean mostly a mud road, toward the church holding a fresh letter. So Minerva, yes, you see now 3 of your fellow crewmates acting odd. What happens?
Minerva will approach them, but not say anything.
What's that in your hand there, Minerva?
Captain Elwood gave Minerva a letter to show a person at the church, and Minerva's supposed to go to the church to give it to them so that Minerva can study with the captain after he returns from his trip.
Well, I'd keep that under wraps if I were you. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate the captain right now. And what about the other 2 of you? What are you doing poking around?
Just poking things.
Just for fun?
Yeah, we didn't get to do enough of it on the ship.
Would you rather do my job?
How is that not poking things?
That's what I mean. You could poke more things. If you were the fisherman.
Yes, but then you'd be out of a job, and you'd have to stay in this dreary
Oh, you'd have
place.
to be able to compete with me first.
Oh.
So what are you really doing? And I think she'll look at Ephraim for this.
We are looking for a fish.
There's a lot of fish around. Well, not as many fish as usual around town. What kind of fish?
This fish is unusual in some way, but mostly we know that it's in the bush.
Right.
I don't understand this either.
I can tell. You'd
Would you
keep...
be prepared to help us?
Well, let me see if I can do a little digging first. I'll be right back. And she'll step back around to the back side of the shop. Can I use the move Others Like Me to call on creatures for help to see what they know about this?
Sure.
So that's a 7. So On a success, they come to help, but choose one. They can only be seen by you, and incorporeal, they manifest as part of nature. They manifest as visions or dreams within the minds of those present, or they appear in monstrous guise. So I think probably manifesting as visions or dreams. And I'm just asking them what they know about the situation with the fish.
Well, it's visions or dreams in the minds of others, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Logan, Ephraim, and Minerva, you all... It's almost like a hunger pang. Like, not to the extent that you double over, but there's a sense of... It's hard to tell whether it's like sudden hollowness in your stomach or like sudden fullness, but you simultaneously have this in your gut. And the three of you look over toward a bush and see a little something. It's it's a decent sized fish, but you see just like the edge of a fin or flipper just happen to catch a little bit of light at that moment. You found the fish. Loretta pops back around, I assume.
Yeah.
And you see them all staring at a bush, holding
Yeah.
their stomachs. The pain goes away. I mean, it lasts for a few seconds.
Did you find the fish? I'm assuming you're staring at it.
Minerva will point at the bush.
Since none of you are apparently capable of grabbing it, Loretta will walk over to the bush and kind of grab the fish out of it.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's still moving, so maybe it's kind of alive. But if you didn't know any better, you would think that it had been laying in the sun for days. It's very, very bloated. And surprisingly heavy. And it just kind of wriggles weakly. Like as you pick it up, it's hard to hold on to because as you hold it, the scales kind of come off in some sort of gross slime. But you've got a sure grip. You've dealt with this type of... You're familiar with creatures from the ocean, so
Yeah.
probably dig your claws into it a little bit. Your fingernails into it a little
Yes.
bit to hold on. And then hold it up and kind of look. It has these very, very large bulbous eyes that look around a bit in an almost intelligent way. And then it shudders and the eyes go milky or dull.
I recall away from the restaurant a fish.
It's just a fish. Calm down. I'm perfectly capable of handling it.
What kind of fish is that?
Well, we've all seen the mutated ones, and apparently this is one of them.
Ephraim, why do we have a mutated fish? Is it your pet? Did it escape? You can tell
I
us.
saw the fish in a vision, and I would like to move closer to the fish and start touching it. I have a move called The Sea Speaks, which allows me to examine something from the sea. And I would
Yes.
like to look at the fish.
Yes. Take that move.
That's a 10. So I get to ask you 3 things.
All right, ask away.
Who last handled this fish?
I mean, oh, yes. You are flashing back to, you don't know their names, but you recognize the fisherman who brought in this haul. And could find them if you needed to. But other than Loretta, you have a memory of, oh yes, I've seen that family before.
Were the fishermen saying anything when they were holding it or were near it?
Sure. The younger one that you think might be a son or nephew of the older one was saying, was kind of arguing that they should go back. Like the older one was saying, oh, we should never go back there. It's like, no, but we got a good catch. I mean, sure, some of them are strange, but there's quite a few that were okay, don't you think? We should go back. And it's like, I didn't like that place.
And these fishermen were feeling excited or nervous.
The older one, I mean, because you only saw them for a moment, but the older one seemed troubled, and the younger one, though, seemed, I don't know if excited, but glad to have a big sack of fish. I mean, it looked like a decent sized haul for what's been happening around here in Dunmire for the past several months.
In that case, I'm going to turn to the rest of the group. And I tell them that this fish came from the source of this town's problems. I'm going to tell them that it was fished out of the water by people who know what's happening here. We should find them. And I described these fishermen.
Okay. And to be clear, you're embellishing on purpose,
yes.
Right? Yeah, okay, good. Interesting. I will say you also have a sense, because you were looking at it, you had to touch it. I mean, it's weird and it's misshapen, but it definitely has something inside it. Like as you were touching it, you could feel something hard inside it.
In that case, I'm going to tear open the fish. I have a small hatchet, so I don't need to use my fingers. But
or you just like toss it up in the air for Loretta, who arp 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 jumps up and tries to catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. So just in the middle of the street.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying there's like an alley nearby. You don't have to be in the middle of the street if you don't want to be, but you certainly can be in the middle of the street.
There's nothing shameful about opening up a fish.
Okay.
It's normal.
All right. Well, so use the edge of your hatchet to slice it open relatively expertly because you're an old sea dog. You know this stuff. So, Ephraim, cast your mind back maybe 10, maybe 20 years. It would have been a voyage on a different ship. Maybe more typical. Sailors are, usually drunk, much more coarse, not as nice, but in some ways a little bit more of a comfortable surrounding, more typical than your current job aboard the Porpoise. You lost something in a storm, some object that had, if not monetary, then sentimental value to you, something relatively small that could fit inside a fish. What was it?
It was a compass.
Excellent.
It was given to me by my father, who himself got it from his father. So it's pretty battered by now. It's an old compass, but it's got sentimental value to me. And, of course, it's also Minerva's family.
Yes. Well, that's what's in the fish. Aside from being covered in purple, disgusting fish blood and guts, it is exactly as you remember.
I drop the fish on the floor and I step away from it. And then I turn to the group and present this compass. And I tell them that we can find these fishermen now. We have evidence.
Evidence of what? It's a compass. The fish swallowed a compass, and now you're suddenly up in arms, ready to take war to fishermen.
Also, why do we care what happens to this dreary town? It sucks here. Let's just get on the boat, cut on out.
That is a very good point. Why do we care?
You don't have a lot of choices in life.
Yeah. Don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a bit dirt poor. We can't afford to go anywhere else. Unless you suddenly have thousands upon thousands of fish hiding in your back pockets. I don't think we're going anywhere anytime soon.
Minerva needs to go to the church.
Well, then go to the church if you need to. Do we know where do you know these fishermen, Ephraim?
I can recognize them if I see them. I don't know their names.
Just meet us back here, Minerva. We'll go investigate if you want to go take care of your church business, or does it have to happen immediately, or can you wait for a minute while we check this out? If you want to come with us, of course.
Minerva can wait. I think. Minerva thinks.
If we're all going as a group, we're right next to the church now. Minerva just pops in and says whatever she has to say to whoever she has to meet.
I mean, you could do that. You certainly could. You're relatively near the church. Just let me know if you want to go to the church now or if you want to wait.
If it's close, then Minerva can pop over to the church if it'll be quick, so she's not having the others wait on her.
Do the rest of you follow? Or are you just waiting in the middle of the street?
Loretta will follow, mostly just because she's curious.
Logan will follow because he doesn't want to be in the street, because people might be looking for me.
In that case, I shall tag along behind the other two.
All right. So, you step into the church, and I think just attracted by the sound of the doors opening and multiple people, Father Thomas comes out and kind of looks you all up and down. He's prepared with a bit of a scowl on his face, because he's like, when people come to the church, I mean, half the time people who wander in church are half drunk or whatever, or poor and dirty. But he sees four relatively well-dressed individuals. He certainly has seen Ephraim about, so his demeanor changes. Ah, my children. So good to see so many of you. And not on even a day of service. What can I do for you? Are you here seeking solace?
Minerva needs to see, Robert.
There's no Robert here. Here, child. I'll take the note for you. And, I mean, I don't know anything about church hierarchy, so if I'm messing it up, it's fine. This is the guy.
The guy.
So I don't know. This is the one. Because there's like one. He'll read it and he'll go, well, interesting. Well, you are most fortunate, my child. Yes, I can definitely. And, Minerva. I will say anyone can read another's thoughts. I won't always prompt you, but I'm going to say at least a couple of you get a little bit of a sense from this guy.
Yeah.
So any or all of you may read another's thoughts. So roll plus brain.
I got an 8.
Minerva got a 9.
You may each ask a question. Or you can hold it and wait. But the questions are, is the character telling the truth? What does the character need most, or want most? What does this character intend to do? What does the character wish you would do? And how can I get this character to fill in the blank? Or something like that. I mean, we can be somewhat...
Yeah. I think Loretta is curious about his intentions, so what does Father Thomas intend to do? You think at first that the way he looks at Minerva suggests that he is interested himself. Like he takes a long, lingering look up and down, which kind of makes you feel ugh. But you see something shifty and calculating in his glance. And at least the impression you have is that he has decided that Captain Elwood has taken a special interest in this one. And so he wants to use her as leverage. Minerva, you may ask a question. I will. He will say, "If you, oh yes, we'd be very happy to have you. Yes, I'm afraid that rules here are very strict, but we do have a few rooms for special individuals who need the church's protection. And I see here that you are to be tutored. You are very fortunate indeed, my child."
Minerva will ask, what does this character wish Minerva would do?
I think he wants you to expose Elwood. He wants you to be a public demonstration that Captain Elwood's upright public face is a sham, and that he's more like his father, who's the devil. He does not care about you at all, although he's smiling and beaming, and he takes your hand and just being very, very accommodating and fatherly. What's going on behind his eyes, like the smile doesn't really reach his eyes. It's like, yes, that you will be a weapon to shame Captain Elwood. And he can't wait to sit down with you for tutelage and wheedle information out of you about Captain Elwood's peccadillos. Well, do you have any things you need to bring in? We can see to you now. I will retire for prayer momentarily. But you are certainly welcome to join me for my evening meal. And then we can talk more.
I'm afraid Minerva has prior obligations, Father.
He looks at you and his entire gaze hardens.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen you in church before. Tell me, are you a believer?
Well, Father, I don't want to lie within these walls, so I will refrain from answering that question.
Turn to Minerva and smile again. My child, you really must be cautious who you associate with.
Yes, Minerva, you must. And if you require a room, my home is not much, but you're welcome to stay with me.
But your captain was most insistent that young, dear Minerva here be put under my charge to see to her well-being.
Yes, but isn't it really Minerva's decision at the end of the day?
I think Minerva is smart enough to realize when her elders and betters have her best interests in mind. Don't you, Minerva?
Well, when those closer to her are able to recognize when she might be better off elsewhere.
You guys, he's got one hand, you got the other, and it's a little bit tug of war. Minerva's just... You get the sense he's going to try to shoo the rest of you out and grab Minerva and toss her in a room.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can I
for Jesus, of course.
Of course.
Can I intimidate the father?
You certainly may. Or you may attempt to.
Right. 10.
Ooh, well, on a 10, that absolutely works. What are you threatening? It doesn't have to be explicit, but
Right.
Is it like flinch, like I'm going to beat you up, or is it are you trying to give him the sense that you're going to beat him up here and now, or going to sneak back in and slit his throat later if he doesn't give her up, or what? Because there has to be a threat.
I'm more or less just kind of telling him that there's more of us than him.
You threaten a man of God here in this sacred space. Why am I not surprised? You have the mark of the devil upon you, upon your very soul. I can see it.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not a believer.
Very well. Your own damnation be it. Now leave my space.
Thank you for your kind hospitality, Father. Let's go.
Cool. Well, you rescue Minerva from what was going to be a very interesting 3 days being held, not exactly a captive, being protected at the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Protected.
Yes. I mean, he had no interest in interfering with her. It just would have been unpleasant. And it would have been fun to split the party with, like, everyone's going off and doing an adventure. Minerva.
You're learning how to write the letter A.
Yeah. Now sound it out. So next time you see the captain, I want you to ask him this. Yes. All right. Cool. So you
ways.
Yes. You step out into the increasingly misty, gray, cold air. And what do you do?
Well, Ephraim, let's go find those fishermen.
I suppose we must. I suppose we should hit pubs to see. Well, is it nighttime now?
I will say you came in on the late tide. It's maybe early evening. The sun has not set, but there's a kind of a low cloud layer and some mist. So it's that kind of just like almost silvery light. So it's difficult to, I mean, your internal clock tells you it's nearing evening, but other than the fact that the sky is brightest in the west, it's hard to tell. And it's not quite close enough to sunset for there to be much color. And it's got the entire village has that strange quality of sound when it's very, very foggy and misty and low clouds. Everything's simultaneously muffled, but also somehow clearer and more echoey. The type of thing where you find yourselves whispering, even though it's unnecessary. But yes. And I mean, the place is open as long as there's anyone in there. So you can certainly go there. Although you just came from there and they weren't in there. It's been maybe 5 minutes.
And you left a bad impression.
Well, you don't know that.
Oh,
Yeah, because all you saw was Logan
There's
go,
no bad
"Hey, there you
impression.
are, buddy. Let's go."
Yeah, three of
Look,
us have no idea.
I didn't know that he was that friendly. That's cool. I like this guy.
well, if we know that they're not in the bar, and we know that they're fishermen, I suppose. Well, we've just come from the docks before we went to the bar. I'm at a loss. Has anyone else got any ideas?
You can just ask around.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It doesn't even require a roll because this isn't like under pressure or anything like that. And folks here are very surly. But they're not unhelpful. You are looking for the Symes family. We will say the father is Peter. I'm writing it down so I won't forget.
Oh.
And the son is Thaddeus. And the other young man with them is, who knows, a cousin or, a distant relative who was orphaned and was brought to live with them, whose name is Daniel. His last name is probably not actually Symes, but he'll answer to it. So you ask around and say, someone this about this high, they were heading off in this direction. They probably live over here. And one of the old fishwives will go, oh, yeah, that's the Symes family. And we'll probably tell you more than you need to know. Oh, yes, what happened to poor Daniel? It's very, very sad. They were taken away by the flu. And, okay, lady. But yes, she will direct you toward, a hovel. Kind of at the the village itself, it's not a planned community, right? It's just people just stuck up shacks wherever they could, and a few larger, more permanent buildings. It's just in a rough crescent around a relatively poor quality natural bay that isn't really safe to enter or exit except at reasonably high tide. And then it just kind of thins out as the land rises from this bay, and kind of on behind a little rocky crag is a fisherman's shack where these three men apparently live. But you find it without much trouble. It probably takes you 20 minutes. It is getting a bit darker. And there's now a very kind of reddish cast as the sun begins to set. Like milky blood red.
That's a good sign.
And everything feels wet and cold.
What kind of milk we've been drinking?
Very bad.
Yes. But you can tell as you approach that there's a fire inside. You can see smoke coming out. You can see firelight. I'm going to say it probably doesn't have windows. It just has shutters over openings. But there's enough you can see that there's... And you can smell cooking. Fish, probably.
Well, we've spoken to the fishwife, who was, flattering enough. And this is clearly a domestic situation. But I did tell the group that these men were responsible for the situation, the overall situation of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Loretta doesn't believe you in the slightest.
Well,
Oh, knock on the door.
Loretta just catch you. It's like, these are the people responsible? Okay.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Knock, knock,
Yeah.
knock.
She's going to give you all the rope that you need. So Loretta goes up and knocks on the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hear some low, well, get it, you idiot. A man's gruff voice. The door, you can hear like a wooden rope latch. Not really not for security's sake, but just to keep the door from blowing open when the wind blows. And a relatively young man, maybe in his teens, maybe early to mid-teens. Because here, in this place and time, you're a man at 13.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe just the little fairest amount of down on his cheeks and chin. But yet still somehow lined and sunburned and, yeah, hard life.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, ma'am?
Hi. Are you Daniel, perhaps?
I am, ma'am. I ain't done nothing.
No, you're not in trouble. We were actually curious as to where you all were fishing this morning.
You can see his eyes get really big. And then a big hammy fist just clouts him on the side of his face. And he kind of gets knocked over the side. You can see him put his hand up to his ear. A very florid-faced man, not particularly tall, but reasonably stout, like maybe someone who at one time was extremely fit but has now gone to seed a bit. Just wearing layers and layers of oiled cloth. The oil is probably rancid. He for sure is super rancid, like 7 teeth in the head kind of thing. Like you could braid the nose hairs, like situation. Like it's not attractive. And he reeks of whatever gin people here make or smuggle over from the mainland. What are you doing asking about my business?
I'm just curious.
And then his eyes kind of focus on you, and he kind of gets a lady, you know.
Yeah.
Situation.
Loretta is beautiful, by the way. Like she's gorgeous.
So he starts to kind of go, and he kind of moves out, and then he sees the rest of you out there, and maybe changes his mind.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, why don't you come in here?"
Yeah. We've.
What do you want?
We're just asking around about some of the fishing spots that people have been hitting up, and we were just curious as to where you guys were fishing this morning.
Looking to move in on our spot? You who have been the only ship that's been able to somehow mysteriously continue bringing in hauls while all the rest of us just scramble for the dregs of whatever foul, rotten creature the sea decides to vomit up into our nets? You're asking me for our spot?
Well, sir, I am only a woman, and I've just been very fortunate in helping the ship find fish. It's no fault of ours that we were simply blessed in finding what we did, and perhaps we can trade information.
Oh, you're that witch. I've heard of you. You're the reason. The devil sent you to tempt me, didn't he?
No, he did not. I'm here to make an exchange.
I mean, that's what the devil would say, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's fine. She kind of is, a little bit.
Yeah. He was like, I mean, you say that, but isn't that kind of what the devil would say?
Yeah, well, look, call it what you will. I'll tell you some good spots to go fishing to get actual fish if you tell me where your spot is.
What are you trying to manipulate him?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's definitely putting on the airs of like, yeah, I might be a witch, but I'm pretty though.
Cool.
That was an 8.
All right. I tell you what. When we go out tomorrow, you come with us. You do whatever that magic is that you have. Lead us to a big catch of fat, healthy fish. And on the way back, I'll show you our spot. And he's leaning in kind of close now.
Yeah. She keeps her composure though. All right. You have yourself a deal. I'll be here in the morning.
He seems surprised.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, wow. I've never
you-
successfully negotiated anything before in my life. That seemed to work really well.
Would it be a problem if at least one of my compatriots came with, just as assurance? I'm sure you understand a poor frail woman like myself going to a boat with 3 men would be frowned upon already more than my reputation already is.
I'll kind of scowl. So, if they're willing to work.
Of course.
Bring them all. That way we can haul in all the fish that you're going to bring me, right?
Yes, of course. Plenty of fish for you and your family.
It's like, all right, in the morning then.
Excellent. Thank you.
What does the what is the boy thinking?
Oh, the young boy?
Yes.
Go ahead and read another's thoughts. Roll plus brain.
So I rolled a 4, and my brain score is -1.
Ooh, so a 3. That is not awesome. So Ephraim gets the sense. I think 2 things occur to Ephraim. One is that maybe a little bit of sympathy for this boy who's in a bad situation. And maybe Ephraim starts to think about his family or lack thereof, and this poor boy who had no family and is now stuck with these ogres. And so maybe there's a part of Ephraim that's thinking, I wonder if the ship could use a new deckhand. I wonder if there's a way to, because I get the sense that you're not, although you are hard bitten and old and jaded, that you don't have a heart of stone. And at least the lad seems healthy and strong. And if he stays here, he's going to turn out just like these guys, and he could potentially be a valuable asset on the sea. The other thing that occurs to you is that the boy is excited to go back. Like, maybe the boy is not as good at hiding whatever it is that the other 2 are hiding, but he seems to be anxious to go back to whatever secret spot they've got. Almost like it's a little treasure or something that and he doesn't seem to be worried about sharing it with you. Like he almost, maybe he even wants to share it.
Well, I'm not going to interfere with the deal Loretta has worked out with, so I'm going to sit on that until tomorrow.
And in case you can't figure it out, that read is totally wrong. I mean, the whole maybe you have a nice thought could make things worse and more complicated potentially, but the meta, that's not what's going on here. Just to be
imagine
clear.
that with such a great roll as a 3.
Yeah, because if anyone's like, oh, he got some good information on a fail, it's like, well, it's not actually.
Yeah, well.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Some words were right, some were mostly wrong.
Yeah.
There
But
was a boy.
and things are going to get worse as a result. But that's fine. Probably because you
the
were
way we
lulled
like
into
it.
a false sense of security.
Oops.
Just the way we like it.
Oh, thanks, Sin, for keeping track. I haven't been counting. So Boon Bane check. We currently have 1 Major Bane. Thank you. 0 major boons, even better, and 1 each of a minor bane and a minor boon. So the way that minor banes and boons work is they add 1 or subtract 1 from a roll, and that can be after a roll. So like a minor bane, if you roll, let's say, a 7, I can say, no, it's a 6, you fail. Or if you roll a 6, you can say, it's actually a 7, spend that boon. Major boons and banes impose what is effectively advantage or disadvantage, which means you roll 3 d6 and either take the higher or the lower. Or after a roll, you can just re-roll up to both of your die. So I will keep my eye on that, especially if one of you succeeds and I want you to fail. So, and that didn't take long at all. That was like 3 minutes of conversation.
Yeah.
What is
Cool.
happening now? You have a date in the morning. You're going to go out on your day off. You have signed you and your friends up to go to go out fishing on a really disgusting boat. Thanks, Wolf. I mean,
You all would have
no,
been
Wolf, make it a
bored.
bane.
Thanks, Wolf. SJ
So,
came in swinging.
Loretta,
Mm-hmm.
what have you gotten us into?
I'm helping us solve the mystery, right? That's what we were doing here.
I don't recall being asked to do any fishing. I don't even do that on the boat.
Well, you said you wanted to poke more things. I thought you'd enjoy this.
Didn't mean that kind of poking, but
Well, you'll have
Wow.
to make do.
Family show guy. I'm just kidding.
just talking about using my rapier, but okay.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
Well, perhaps you can do that too, depending on how things go. I don't exactly trust these guys, but they have the intel. So if you'd like to complain some more, you're more than welcome to, but I have other plans for the evening. Which is primarily just
Minerva.
going back home.
Minerva doesn't know how to fish.
Don't worry, dear. Just stay close to me and I'll take care of everything.
Okay.
Well, you might be able to cook something lovely, especially if you can find some fish that aren't mutated and strange.
We'll find a use for you, Minerva. Don't worry.
So where's
So-
everyone going? Does anyone have a home here in town?
Yeah, Loretta does. I mean, it's not
Okay, yeah.
in town, but nearby.
You have a home out of town. Does anyone not have a home here? In the
I don't have a home.
okay,
I mean, unless I can sleep on the boat.
no,
What do you mean, no?
no.
Minerva was just gonna go to the church.
Okay,
Loretta's like,
usually-
well, wait. You come with me, Minerva. You can come stay with me for the night. I don't trust you with that father, whatever his name is.
Thomas.
Yeah.
I usually stay in boarding houses when I'm in town because I'm usually on a ship on long voyages. So
Yeah.
I have an arrangement for 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah. And yes, it is. So to be clear, it is probably less comfortable than the ship, because at least Captain Elwood requires the ship to be relatively clean and for people to bathe.
The hammock doesn't even sway.
Right. This is like think flop house. This isn't like, oh, it's a lovely inn and everyone gets their room. It's a you roll your belongings up underneath a blanket and sleep on it so people don't steal it, hopefully in the night, and hope that you don't catch lice or whatever. Although probably everyone already has that. Maybe you guys don't because you are required to stay clean. But it's not nice. So you're going to the flop house. Loretta and Minerva are going to Loretta's cottage. Where's Logan going?
Oh, I don't know then.
Oh, there's a flop house.
Oh, good.
Or you could say you have a house.
No, I don't want a house here. It's
Okay.
terrible.
I mean, it is.
That's why I don't want a house here.
You could have a little boat and there could be like a cave nearby that you know. mean, you can just make stuff up as long as it's not like I live in a grand mansion. I have 7 Snow White horses that ferry me from spot to spot. I'm fine with
Can I
it.
believe that is true in my cave?
Yes.
It's just white rocks that are stacked outside, and those are my horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. Then I will do that. I will sleep on a small little wooden boat in a cave.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'd probably leave the boat on the shore. But yeah, there's a little islet relatively nearby
Sure.
that you hole up in. Maybe it at one time was used for smuggling, but whatever smuggling group used to operate out of it, it was very small, and they all mysteriously died. And
Yeah,
therefore,
terrible shame that.
everyone who knew that it existed is now down in Davy Jones' locker. So yeah, it's reasonably as long as it's a little bit of an L-shaped cave. So as long as you are careful and don't let fire, like the fire light, be seen, no one goes sailing out at night. It's not like down further south and over towards the mainland, there are some lighthouses and things, but here people don't typically sail at night unless they're out in the Atlantic.
Yeah, the only people that sail at night are ghosts.
And smugglers. Cool. So
Ghost
Logan is
smugglers.
sleeping in a cave. Ephraim is in the flop house, and Loretta. So Loretta, tell us about your home.
It's pretty ramshackle, kind of hastily thrown together, probably by Loretta's husband before he left. But it's well kept. Loretta takes care of it. And it has I think a single bedroom. So she probably set up a place for Minerva to sleep out in the main room. But yeah, very, very small and far away from the village.
Kind of up on the windswept highland, high area of the island.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit of distance from the crashing of the waves. There aren't that many trees on the island, but there are several kind of in the little area right around your cottage, which helps to break the wind somewhat, but also creates kind of a whistling, hissing sound as the wind picks up at night and kind of screeches through the branches and the eaves of your little cottage. Even though it's not yet even winter, the branches are bare. Maybe you have a few chickens that just kind of, and maybe there's fewer of them now because someone came and stole a few.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
But or maybe a fox, because people tend not to come too near your little hut because
Weird.
it's probably cursed because you're
Yeah.
a witch.
I mean, there's probably a lot of fishbone decorations hanging outside. It's fine.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Strange, almost musical clanking
Yeah.
sounds from the various different fishbone wind chimes you've hung from the trees.
Yeah, they're very popular back home. I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. I mean, it's like ASMR. It's very soothing. Yeah.
Or creepy.
If you're a fish monster.
Yeah,
but for a
yeah.
human like Minerva, it's a little, I don't know. How do you take this all, Minerva?
But thinks that if Loretta likes it, then Minerva can learn to like it too, because she wants to be friends with Loretta because Loretta seems nice.
Okay.
So if Loretta likes it, then Minerva can like it.
Cool. This is how you get a bunch of cannibals, but that's fine. Because I imagine Loretta's eaten some people.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
When, Sailor makes a crude joke at you and mysteriously falls overboard overnight and then, never seen again. Yeah.
yeah. All right, cool. So Ephraim, you're not sure what time it is because it's dark and there's no windows in the flop house. You think it is probably late at night because it's relatively quiet. Even the people who, came in and were drunk and were kind of singing and laughing or crying to themselves have finally passed out and quieted down. There's a little bit of jostling every now and then because most people are just lying on tattered rags on wooden floors. It's not the most comfortable. But what awakens you is murmuring. Like maybe someone talking in their sleep, which is not unheard of, but this isn't like, the occasional the occasional sailor who will say a few words and then leap up out of their cot, and then it's lower and more. It's lower and softer and more constant.
When I first awake, I sort of move instinctively away from the smell of humans and towards the draft coming up from between the floorboards.
Yeah.
So I've sort of already moved and rolled over.
Okay.
But as I'm aware of this murmuring, I begin to surreptitiously try and look around the room and see who it's from.
And there's enough just incidental light probably from the sky has cleared a bit overnight, and maybe there's some moonlight coming in through just little gaps in the wall, which is nice because it's drafty in here, so it's not like a total disgusting hot box, but you're right to think that it's a little bit whiffy. And your eyes are very adapted, so you can just get a sense visually of the just lumps here and there of probably 10, 15 other men. And you're trying to pinpoint which one of them is making the murmuring. They all are. It's not just one.
I am going to try and move to the door without waking any of them. This is obviously dodgy.
I would like you to act under pressure. That's a roll plus balance.
My balance is 2 and I rolled a 7, so 9.
Ah. So, I think I would like to offer you a worse outcome.
May I use a minor boon?
I mean, it's a good time to use it.
In that case, I would like to automatically succeed.
All right, use the minor boon to kick it from a 9 to a 10. So you do it. You are able to, you're kind of shuffling your way, and it's very, very dark. And maybe there's a little bit of light coming up from between the floorboards to help guide you. As you shuffle toward the door, one of the men, still asleep, murmuring, his hand kind of reaches out towards you, like maybe in his sleep he hears you. And you can feel his fingers just like graze your calf as he tries to get a grip on your breeches. But he's asleep and not super fast. But you do a little, because you can feel him nearly grabbing you. But yes, you have made it to the door. And no one's getting up and chasing you or anything.
Is this a one-room house or?
This is a second floor, like whatever, under the roof, just flat area. And then that someone put up a wall and just said, yeah, whatever, here's some straw pallets and a bucket to piss in.
In that case, I'm going to go downstairs, sneaking. If I'm not interrupted, then as I get further away, I'm going to sort of affect an air of normality.
Okay.
I'm just going to stroll away, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, everyone's asleep. Are you curious what they're murmuring?
I suppose so.
It's not all the same thing. Like the word, they're not like chanting. But as you stop for a moment and like slowly open the door to make your way down, and even as you're like slowly sneaking down the steps, trying not to awaken anyone with the creaking, it's some variation of, where is it? Where is it? Oh, I found it. No, it's over there. It's in different voices and accents. These men are all murmuring as if they have lost something, or maybe they found something. It's very, no one of them is at all sinister. In fact, it almost sounds childlike and like a sense of wonder. Like they're very happy. They don't seem to be upset. But the fact that they're all doing it simultaneously is a little creep. Just doesn't seem right. So it's now, say, 3 o'clock in the morning. Wind from the north blown away the fog and clouds of the day. It's quite crisp outside. Maybe not quite freezing.
Well, the obvious thing to do is hang around until normal hours when the gang meets up again. But I think I'm scared enough that I'm probably going to make my way to the church. I'm not going to go in. We did just threaten the priest.
Right.
But if I need sanctuary, then I'm probably huddled in the doorway nearby the church.
Okay. Yeah. And you have all your belongings with you. I mean, you probably can leave a few things. You have a trunk on the, especially as a you have some degree of seniority aboard ship. So you certainly have a trunk where you can leave items that you would be concerned about in relative safety. But in terms of like clothing and stuff, most of that you have with you, and a coat. So you can bundle yourself up and pull down your hat and be reasonably comfortable. It smells nicer out here.
As long as I still got the compass, I'm not really too concerned about lost belongings because nothing high-end was worth anything.
Yeah. Do you pull out and look at the compass?
Yes.
Glinting in the moonlight? I think I would like you to sense what's beyond.
That would be an 8.
Wow. So you're going to receive fragments and mysteries. When you pulled it out of the fish, you didn't take time to look at it, like in detail. And maybe at some point as you were, there's a bucket of water around the side of the building for people to wash themselves. You might have at least gotten the worst of the fish guts and stuff off of it, but you really haven't been in a position where you were alone and had time to examine it. You are familiar with every dent and scratch. This is absolutely the exact same compass. And it doesn't appear to be corroded. There's nothing like it that was a decade ago. It should be a corroded lump of brass at the bottom of the ocean by now. And it is pristine, if slightly sticky. And as you look at it and in the moonlight, in I think probably a sense of wonder, a thought occurs to you. The needle is not pointing north.
I'm not leaving the church. I'm here for sanctuary, and the compass is fascinating.
Yes.
It's precious, but I'm not going to leave the church. I shall wait for the morning.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'll probably bring it up with the group before we meet up with the fishermen.
The Symes family. All right, so morning comes. I suppose Loretta and Minerva rise early, given you have a bit of a trek from Loretta's creepy witch's cottage up on the bluffs down to the village proper. And Logan needs to get up early too, to probably before the sun rises, so that you can be back in the cove and no one can see where you're coming from, because I think you probably want to keep the location of your cave secret.
Mansion, but yes.
Right. You have painted. You probably, I will say you probably actually have, because you would. You probably actually have a relatively comfortable, if somewhat damp bed, and some surprisingly nice bedclothes, and like maybe a slightly warped but very well put together mahogany dresser. And it's almost like someone took a very fancy shipment of furniture and stuck it in a cave.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is fully furnished when I moved in.
Right.
Just like all houses that you buy.
Exactly.
And an inlet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very weird 19th century Airbnb, but well furnished.
And Minerva have made food for Loretta.
Yeah. And maybe that's how Loretta awakens, is the sizzling of we'll say fresh you don't pick eggs, freshly gathered eggs sizzling in, I guess, lard, probably, because that will keep.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cook in whale oil or blubber. So yeah, and there's some salted meat and pickles and things like that. And maybe you have a small little plot of some vegetables that can take the kind of strange or the kind of harsh conditions and not being cared for days at a time. And maybe that stuff grows a little bit better for you than maybe it ought to, because you're spooky. So yes, Minerva has put together a lovely repast.
Thanks, Minerva. We can savor breakfast for a moment before, well, not even really get to savor it because we're already probably running late.
Yeah.
Or get down and run. But it's very good.
Yep. So, does everyone meet back near the Symes place? Ephraim, you have a fitful night. You probably eventually fall back to sleep, and then are certainly awakened by the sun. And probably the sound of Father Thomas rustling around in the church.
Yeah, Loretta's going and probably dragging Minerva with.
Okay.
Yes, I will head to the shanty or hut or house, whatever it was.
Hovel. Cool. And Ephraim, you had planned to catch them before they make their way directly. Okay, cool. So Ephraim will appear looking a bit bedraggled, a little wild-eyed maybe. So what happens?
Did you sleep all right, Ephraim?
You sleep outside.
I slept terribly. I was attacked. They weren't awake, and they didn't quite touch me, but they were screaming and saying things, and
Ephraim is such a liar. I love it. Sorry.
Who attacked you?
just people, everybody who was in the room. I was in the flop house sleeping when they just began to say things, crazy things. And
Like what?
they were saying, well, they said all sorts of things. Everybody said something different. Some of them were saying names and, well, some of the things were too ghastly to share. And when I got out of the flop house, when I managed to escape, I opened up the compass and it wasn't pointing north, it's pointing somewhere else. And I showed the group, right? And the compass needle is still pointing in the same direction it was before
Yes.
at the church.
It's pointing east-northeast.
Well, that just sounds like you have a broken compass that we found in a fish.
It sounds that way, but Logan, you can see as Ephraim is holding it up, he can move the compass and the needle stays steady. And you do a little bit of internal reckoning and it's like, yeah, that's north. This thing is pinned at a little bit north of east.
Well,
and you're no scientist, but that's not how compasses get broken. They get broken because they stop spinning.
Yep.
Yeah, no. This is a functioning compass, but it's off.
Yes.
Peculiar.
And pass
Maybe
the
it
compass
has-
around for people to look at if they want.
Yeah, Loretta's examining it a lot because she is very directionally apt.
Is there an inscription, Ephraim?
Yes, but it was not original to the compass. When my father inherited it, he inscribed my grandfather's motto onto it, which I don't know what his motto would be.
Something Latin.
Yeah, something Latin. I don't speak Latin at all.
So yes, you can see quite well made, obviously well used and well loved, but doesn't appear to be damaged beyond what something that would have been used as a tool for many, many years. But obviously well cared for, and there is an inscription in Latin on it.
Like Otvium Invenium Aut Facium?
Sure. Don't know what that
Cool.
means, but
I shall find a way or I'll make one.
oh yeah, I like that.
Perfect. Well, maybe keep an eye on this compass while we take our trek this morning. I have a feeling that this and whatever fishing spot they found might be connected.
As we move away, I take back the compass, although I don't mind if Minerva has it as well, since she's a blood relative.
Well, do you know that though?
I think I know that. I'm not sure that Minerva knows that.
Okay.
Or we could ask Minerva.
Yeah. Do you know that Ephraim is a distant blood relation of yours?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if she does, she's forgotten it because she's had a lot of trauma and has basically down to the point where it only focuses on the future and not the past type deal.
Love it. Cool. So and maybe just something about Minerva got you interested, and even though she's not very talkative, over time, enough clues, and she's let enough bits and pieces kind of casually slip that, like, you don't have proof, but you are certain. And you probably also know that bringing up family of origin stuff with Minerva is probably not going to go well. Oh, yeah. So you've probably been somewhat circumspect about saying, I'm your long lost cousin. And she's like, stab. I mean, Allegedly. Cool. So yes, you don't even make it to the Sibes family hovel because you can hear them grumbling and bustling. And then they seem to be somewhat surprised to find you standing, all looking at a compass.
I knew the boy was enthusiastic coming out to meet us already.
Yes, he looks extremely enthusiastic this morning. Like at all. He looks afraid, but he's probably afraid of Peter, the dad, the bully. You're sure that's what he's afraid of. So Peter will come forward and, I didn't think you'd show. What's that you got there?
Compass, you ever heard of one?
Of course I have.
Well,
Looks nice.
yeah.
Is that part of your trick for how you get all the fish?
No.
I mean,
Well,
it
why are
helps
you
us
standing
find
out
our
in the
way.
middle of the road looking at it?
I can't help what my compatriots do. They're a bit odd.
Yes, we're the odd ones.
Yeah.
I'm backing away from Peter.
Okay. He looks at the compass greedily because it's shiny and probably expensive. Actually, it's probably very expensive. You could probably sell it for, like, if you were to go to the mainland, to a proper town, you could probably get a decent amount of money for it. And all of this crosses over his... Like, I'm not even going to make you try to read what's going on inside his head. The thought of, knocking you out, taking the compass and throwing you overboard, like, just crosses his face for sure. And he kind of looks around and he's like, well, there's 4 of them. He's doing a little bit of mental calculus, but he gets a very beady, kind of low, cunning sort of look on his face as he watches you put the compass back in your pocket. Well then,
Let's go.
our deal didn't involve standing around.
No, we were following you, so why you're standing here? Maybe you should lead the way.
So I'll just, he'll shoulder check you as he goes by. Keep up.
Someone didn't have breakfast.
Probably not, because everyone is dirt poor.
I know, but Logan likes poking people.
Right?
Would you like Minerva to make food for you?
No. Minerva, we need to leave.
Okay.
We can make food later once we
Oh,
get
you're a
back.
cook?
Yes, sir.
Well, at least one of you is useful. Yep. You'll make us lunch. Assuming we catch anything, so you keep up your end of the bargain. Cool.
Logan's just gonna mutter to himself. If you survive that long.
Yeah, and Loretta looks at Logan and is like, yeah.
The younger Daniel, the youngest, hears that and kind of looks at you suspiciously. Maybe hopefully too.
Maybe I tap my rapier.
Are you walking around town with a sword?
What's sheathed?
It's the like mid to late 19th century, not 17th or 16th century.
I don't care.
Okay.
Where else am I gonna put my personal effects?
In a roll on your back.
No.
So knowing that you're walking around armed, things may be a little bit different now.
Fine.
We'll see. I would say until now, at least, you have not been wearing a rapier.
Mm.
That would be...
Why would I have a roll anyway? I have a mansion. With maybe a butler that's made out of stones and sticks. We don't know.
Oh, got it. You think you're carrying a rapier. It's actually
Maybe it's a stick.
a dagger.
Yes.
Oh, you definitely have a knife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So your rapier is actually a belt knife, which is totally okay for a fisherman to have. Okay.
Sure.
Got it. I forgot that Logan is delusional. So,
It's delusional mercenary.
yes. So you head to I mean, it's not a big boat. It's not particularly nice. It's a little bit crowded once you get in there. The nets have not been repaired, nor were they put away particularly well. They're very, very mildewed. Like, they clearly don't hang them up to dry, which is part of the reason that they're in bad repair. They're kind of starting to rot away. But they will pile in and push off with all of you. And you are going to direct them where?
So, as the Strider, I have my special move, Innate Compass. So I am looking for good fishing grounds to show them so that we can catch actual fish.
All right.
So I probably mapped out a few areas already that I know of.
Well, go ahead and make the roll. You know what? I think we need to make that with disadvantage, though. You know. So that will spend. We'll say that.
Okay.
We'll say that was whoever the last major vein was.
Well, my low was a 7, so I know the way.
All right. What are the on a 7? What are the complications?
It just says you know the way. On a 10 plus, you find it. You're there if you want to be. On a 7 or 9, you know the way. On a miss, GM makes things worse.
Got it. Okay, so you know the way. It's fairly far out. And kind of tap into that part of yourself that just seems to intuitively know. And it's going to be nearly half a day. It's around the tip of the island and then out into the Atlantic. Now, the ship does have a sail, so you don't have to worry about rowing the entire way. And I'll be nice and say that the wind, while not favorable, isn't against you. But it's going to be a bit of a, like, you can do the calculation in your head, and it's like, it's going to be a bit tough to get out there, set the nets, pull them in, wait, pull them in, set them again, just basically fill the boat with fish if at all possible, then go to wherever their super secret location is and make it back to shore by nightfall. But you know the way.
So I know the way out, but it's going to take time. Would you show us where the location of your fishing spot is first? Because that will probably be easier so that we know where it is.
No. Because you made the bargain.
Jerk. Do I just push him overboard and eat him? It's very tempting.
Did I say that out loud?
Oops. Smile, fish mouth full of very sharp teeth.
Wow.
Well, like I said. Well, if we want to catch fish, that's where it is. But it's going to take a while.
All right. Is there anything anyone is going to do other than just sit and wait?
I do want to know where we are in relation to the porpoise. I don't imagine it's moved.
No. It is anchored outside the little protected bay. It's a bit large to come in and actually reach the docks proper. So yeah, you have to take a tender back and forth.
We're long out of line of sight.
Oh yeah,
then.
yeah. You sailed past it and then around the southern tip of the island and then up out into the Atlantic. So, is anything happening in the 5 hours it takes to get out to where Loretta has sensed that there are fish?
Logan would ask Loretta some questions. off to the side, away from our
I mean, yeah,
new acquaintances.
sure.
Loretta,
Mm-hmm.
you're guiding us to where there's fish, correct?
Yes.
Edible fish.
Yes.
And why didn't we go to their place where we need the non-edible fish first?
Because they refuse to take us there until we
Well,
catch their fish for them. Because they're incompetent.
true.
I mean, they can totally hear you, but it's fine.
I mean, she doesn't care.
All right, then.
I mean, you were standing right there when the negotiation happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
She
Yeah,
put the mojo on him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it if you promise to take me to the good fish first."
Yeah.
I don't remember the first part.
No, just take care of the fish quickly, and the faster we'll get back. More or less.
Excellent. Wow. What kind of... I think you make it to the area. And there's not... I mean, this is just rolling ocean. Gray, under a lead sky, cold. You are far out of the sight of land. This is not... You don't go out on boats like this deep into the ocean, typically. So everyone is a little bit aware that this is a very small vessel that has probably too many people in it. You know, this is not an ideal situation by any means. And everyone, especially after the last little spit of land falls below your ability to see it. And maybe if it was flat, you could see it, but because of the swell. I think everyone needs to act under pressure to see how precise your targeting is, to see how well everyone can assist in pulling in a catch. Just lots of opportunities for things to go wrong.
Got a 10.
Excellent. Well, you're just like drop the sail, and they've been kind of so Peter has been drinking this moonshine or whatever, so he is a little bit slow to react, and so you just take over and you drop the sail. You're not a sailor, but you've been around enough, you can do it, because you just know it's like it's here, it's now. So the ship is bobbing, so that's very good. Who else would like to share what their role was?
I got an 8.
An 8. Ah, excellent. Oh, I thought you were just going, yeah. It's like, oh, it's a 3.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Minerva's off balance. It's fine. That's why Minerva sways.
All right. Logan. You can successfully help make the hull full and fast at a cost. You have to lose something overboard.
Man.
Something relatively small.
What is relatively small?
Something that might fit in a fish.
It's not gonna be my boot, I guess.
Probably not. It could fit in a large fish. There are fish that are big. Could fit in a porpoise.
All right, fine. Sure.
So what?
I will lose a pocket watch.
Okay. So you are helping to pull in. You're helping to pull in a very, very full net full of fish, most of whom don't seem to have any extra eyes or weird tentacles, or they don't seem to be making any strange noises. So There's a few that look a bit odd, but this net, it's in poorer shape than perhaps was apparent, and it starts to rip. And so you have to lunge out and grab, hold on to the gunnel and reach out and grab and pull before the entire net full of fish is lost. And as you do, the chain that holds your pocket watch, you can feel it snap. And then you look down and you lean and you can see it's kind of dangling there, but as soon as you're pulled back, it just flips over the side into the drink. So that's sad.
Yeah.
I'm saving Minerva for last because I'm plotting what that 3 means. Ephraim, how'd you do?
I got a 7 and I have a +2, and I would like to spend a minor boon as well to pass the test.
All right. So you have you're very, very successful. You have just frankly much more experience than any of these folks. I mean, and maybe it's not even just a matter of experience, it's a matter of skill. Part of the reason they haven't been doing well is that they're just not very good fishermen. And they're making Daniel do a lot of the work, and he has no idea what he's doing. Just looking at his hands, he must not have been with them for very long. Like maybe only a season. Some of it's because he's young and a little bit scrawny, but just the more you get a sense of like he's just learned to do some of this stuff. So by kind of taking control a little bit, and especially like helping to give him just a little bit of information so he's a little bit more effective, yes, you are helping to ensure that the catch comes in significantly faster. Minerva is going to... Well, your job was going to be to cook something, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you do. Who eats Minerva's fish stew?
I'll have a meal.
Loretta has plans to eat something else. Or maybe someone else.
Yeah. There was like, I don't eat fish. I do like fish, Ermin.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. So, Ephraim is eating some of the stew. Loretta is not. Logan, are you eating? I mean, you're hungry. It's Minerva. Minerva's a good cook.
No.
Okay. Is that because Batty knows it was a 3? Or does Logan?
No, it's because Logan's had fish for quite a few meals and he wants something different.
Okay. And the sooner you get out of there, the faster. And less to cook. So it's really more to see to it that the 3 fishermen at least get what they demand out of the bargain, which is a fine fish stew. And you probably brought along, Minerva, some herbs and things like that to make it better than just like fish boiled in seawater. I mean, there's a few moments where a spell comes and there's a little bit of sloshing and slopping, and you probably burn your hand a little bit, but it's not too bad. Do you eat some, Minerva?
Yes, Minerva tastes Minerva's food before Minerva serves it.
It tastes fine.
We're eating together.
Do you eat some though? There's no table. There's just like, kind of mismatched wooden bowls. There's maybe a kind of soggy half loaf of bread that was wrapped in oilcloth to kind of just sop up. It's going to be very messy.
Mm.
But the 3 of the fishermen, the Symes men, dig in greedily. I mean, it's okay. It's not fantastic, but they're treating it like it's the best thing they've eaten in weeks, probably because it is. Ephraim has a bowl. Minerva, are you having a bowl, or are you just tasting it as you cook?
If Minerva likes it from the taste, she may have a little bowl, but like not a huge thing because she wants to make sure that the other people eat first.
Okay.
She'll just take whatever's left.
Okay. So you have a yeah, you wait until you taste it, and then you wait until everyone else is done, and you'll have a little bit. And so yeah, you'll take the little cooking pot and what's left, the heel of the bread, and just do what you often do when you're cooking aboard ship. It's just kind of like have the leftovers. It's really only as you're getting down to the very, very bottom of the pot that you realize that somehow some very distorted, mutated, strange creature made its way into your stew. Or perhaps one of the fish that externally looked quite normal was badly altered in its internal anatomy. But there is some strange, black, spiky mass at the bottom of the pot. And the last, like you're just scooping with bread and eating, and as you see this, that last bite in your mouth has a strange tingling. What do?
Minerva would drop the pot and like take a step back, and if there's like a sink where she'd wash her mouth out, or like
I mean, there's
some
the
sort
there's
of
the
water.
ocean. You can hang over the side and yeah, but there's no plumbing. It's the ocean. So
Like,
Minerva,
get like a cup and scoop water in,
Cool.
drink, and then like
yeah, spit it out. Minerva makes a big scene, so everyone looks and sees. I will say that, let me check my names. The Thaddeus will leap up. Are you okay?
yes, sir. Minerva's okay.
What's
It's
wrong?
fine.
Why are you washing out your mouth? Is there something wrong with the stew? And then goes and looks at the stew and sees this just, it's almost like someone stepped on a, what are they called? Sea urchin. Like it's just black spikes all kind of jumbled and crunched together. And it's vaguely sticky. Like as you had been stirring, it kind of adhered to the bottom of the pot. And as you look at it now, as because you had tipped over the stew pot, and a lot of the excess had drained out, it's just kind of stuck there, and this weird, milky, vaguely translucent stuff is oozing out of it. So, even though Peter is somewhat drunk, the yelling of Minerva, the crash of the pot to the deck of the boat, and Thaddeus's quick motion, and then him looking at this and goes, "What is this?" And he holds it up for everyone else to see, a look of suspicion starting to form on his face. Peter is going to assume that you have attempted to poison them all. So, Peter stands up, a little bit wobbly, reaches for a gaff hook. That's like a club that has a hook on it. Reaches for it and is just going to try to beat you all to death.
That's not going to be good.
What do you do?
Minerva apologizes.
Minerva's like, no, and backs away. Are you trying to do a thing, or are you just saying sorry?
from her experience, when a man gets angry, it usually involves violence and it usually involves her getting hurt. So she's
And then
gonna
her murdering
cower
him.
away and she's getting defenseless. Like, Minerva, sorry. Minerva didn't mean it. I'm sorry.
So you are going to do everything you can to make yourself not a target.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's an acting under pressure.
Lovely. That went so well the last time.
Perfectly.
Oh,
What do you
that's
think?
better.
We have boons and
What a
stuff. Erthos, it's not capsaicin. For sure.
Minerva will use a major boon.
Okay. And remember, you don't have to re-roll both. Like if you got like a 6 and a 1 or a 5 and a 1, you can keep the 5 and re-roll just the 1.
Okay.
Or you can
Minerva
re-roll
will
both.
roll just the one.
Okay.
Well, it's better. Minerva got a 7.
Well, that's better than a fail.
It is.
In that moment when your past is very present to you, you realize that this sure way to protect yourself is to direct suspicion to one of your friends. So I'm offering you an ugly choice. You can either fail to protect yourself, which, I mean, who knows if he's going to go after you or not. You can fail to protect yourself, or you can, in this moment, choose which of your friends to implicate by saying, no, I saw them put something in there. Your choice.
And they already think Loretta's a witch.
Yeah, but Minerva likes Loretta.
They don't really like me too much.
I mean, I don't really like any of you.
I
But that's
mean,
okay.
I think Minerva will point at Logan. Point at him. Sorry. Minerva, sorry.
Okay. And he's drunk, but he gets what you're trying to say. So he is going to advance on Logan now.
Yay!
What do
I'm
you
popular.
do? What do you do?
Well, we're in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah. On a relatively small boat.
Certain illegal things that probably aren't illegal now.
I mean, murder is pretty much illegal everywhere.
No, I don't know about that. Did you get my message?
I have not looked. I do not have Discord open. Yeah.
Okay. Then I will use that. I pull it out, my revolver, and just aim at him.
Well, I think that's acting with force.
I do believe it is as well.
All right. Make that roll. Make it high. And be glad that that's not what fell out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ephraim.
I was thinking I got a 10.
Oh, well, then choose 3.
Yeah. I will take hold of the situation.
Okay.
Frighten my enemy, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And I'll inflict terrible harm.
Yes. And
that is what it's for.
The base harm of your revolver is 2, if I recall from just skimming that area.
It is, yes.
Yes. Most weapons have a base harm of 1.
Yep.
Except a revolver, and well, firearms in general have a base harm of 2. And inflicting terrible harm is an additional 1 or 2. I think it's 2. Regardless,
I believe so. Yeah.
I think it's so there is harm in this system. Take a little bit of a meta moment. This is a little bit like Monster of the Week, where you actually can. They don't have hit points, but it's possible for people to take harm, unlike say masks. But this is a deadly, deadly, deadly world. The typical person is killed by 1 harm. So 1 harm is a fatal blow to the average person. There are the occasional people who are made of more stout stuff, which includes generally all the player characters and some others, who can withstand 2 points before it becomes a very problematic injury that requires surgery, which can be fatal. 3 is you are dying without massive immediate intervention. You are going to die. And 4 is you're just dead. So this, I think, is a moment of overkill. So he comes not really rushing at you. He just is beating this thing against his fist, just starting to form some sort of question or statement. Don't know, but his mouth is just opening. And like lightning, Logan pulls out a revolver, cocks it, and just... Are you aiming for the head or center mass?
Center mass.
So everyone toward the bow of the ship is... everyone on the boat is momentarily deafened because you are all within, no more than 5 feet-ish of a revolver going off. So there's a ringing. And then there's a sense of warmth for those toward the bow of the ship as most of Peter's insides go spraying onto you. And thankfully, he keeps to his feet long enough to topple over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Bob for a moment, because you're at rest. Bob for a moment, and then begin to sink. There is a roiling in the ocean as the fish that you have been harvesting are attracted. Potentially other things soon to be attracted to the chum in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say Logan probably trains the revolver on Thaddeus and Daniel, who immediately didn't have any weapons in hand. Maybe Thaddeus was going to reach to a knife on his belt, but they both...
Oh, yes.
You killed him! You killed my dad!
Well,
I'm never sorry.
it was very clear that he was going to make short work.
What did you
of
do to
us.
us? You poisoned us and then you killed him. This was your plan all along. Why? We haven't done anything to you people.
Oh, that's not true. You've insinuated terrible rumors about us, haven't you?
I have no idea who you even are. That is probably 20.
Yeah.
But
Well.
in Logan's mind, who knows what goes on in there.
Look, the way that I see it is, the poor man fell overboard and was assaulted by mutated fish. Such a shame. But you have a haul, one less person to split the cash with. And quite frankly, he seemed like a bit of a brute, so not much of a loss.
Lady has a point.
Minerva
Yes.
and Ephraim. Would you please act under pressure for me?
Hasn't gone well so far.
I mean, it's the game. It's not supposed to go well.
Going swimmingly for Logan.
It's going swimmingly for the ex-captain. Or I mean, the
I rolled a
fishery.
9.
What was that?
I rolled a 9.
Ah, excellent.
Minerva also rolled a 9.
All
I mean,
right.
Minerva rolled a 10, but she's negative
Yeah.
1, so it's 9.
So, I'm having you roll under pressure to resist the effects of whatever that substance was that made its way into the stew. So, for Ephraim, I would say you can become violently ill at the combination of whatever this substance is and the fact that you just saw someone super murdered right in front of you. Violently ill and effectively incapacitated. Or you can start to hallucinate. Your choice. Minerva. They all have to die. Not your friends. They were all in it together. You no longer see these two young men holding up their hands like, oh no, sorry, you killed my dad. You see faces from your past. So you can choose to act on that, or you too can be incapacitated. That's your choice.
It would be it is very tempting to be a burden on the team and just sleep it off. But I do want to see what my next vision will be.
Okay. So
Well.
you begin to hallucinate. Beautiful. Minerva, what's your choice?
Minerva's gonna view the two men as threats and attempt to manipulate one of them to get close to them with the intent of possibly slitting one throat.
Then it's going to be an act with force.
Okay.
Because they're not even looking at you at this point. Everyone's eyes are on Logan because Logan just blew someone away.
Oh, I thought it was because I was popular, but fine.
I mean, you're the center of attention, that's for sure.
Well,
Oh, dang.
Wow.
Rip this guy.
I'll be nice and say it's Thaddeus and not poor Daniel.
Not poor Daniel.
I'll give you guys a chance to try to save poor Daniel. So how you get to choose 3. You can take definite hold of the situation. You can suffer little harm. You can inflict terrible harm. You can impress or dismay or frighten your enemy. I'm going to say you impress. You're going to dismay everyone, whether you choose it or not. But go ahead and see whether you choose it. So choose 3.
Minerva inflicts terrible harm by slitting Thaddeus's neck.
Yep.
With her what is it? Butcher's cleaver.
Yep.
We'd like to frighten the enemy. And when it says suffer little harm, can that be like mental harm? Because it's going back to like she's viewing them as men who have hurt her in the past. So
Sure. I mean, it's technically meant to be like reducing, like in a brawl, reducing the harm that you would face as you're trading blows. But don't worry about it. You're not trading blows because you're catching him completely by surprise. So as things go a little bit hazy for Ephraim. Maybe the quality of the light changes. Maybe you start to hear things. Logan has the gun trained on people. Loretta is looking. No one is really paying attention or really notices that Minerva's kind of cowering has stopped. And just in a very smooth and, shall we say, practiced motion, just strides with confidence 3 or 4 steps, grabs Thaddeus by the hair, pulls it back, and just with a butcher's cleaver, just and then tosses him overboard and probably turns on Daniel, who immediately begins to just like cry and no. What do you do? Except for we'll get to Ephraim in a second.
Restraining Minerva. You're like, whoa.
Are you acting with force?
Probably. Yeah. Trying to basically just hold her back to keep her from, murdering Daniel as
Okay.
well. I mean, Daniel's the only one I care about, so. Nope, that's a 6.
We have boons, I believe.
Put it in the Elwood chat
Okay.
because we get lots in chat.
Yeah, I'll use the minor boon to make it a 7.
Perfect. So choose 2.
Take definite hold of the situation, or definite
Or-
hold of
yeah.
Minerva.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of grab her and hook my arms under hers to hold her back. And
But I suggest suffer little harm.
yeah, as I say, suffer a little harm so that I'm not getting murdered by that butcher's cleaver.
Yeah. Cool. So, awesome. Logan, it's been a bit since you murdered someone. What do you do?
Or are you asking if I'm murdering more?
Well, I'm just saying it's you have a chance to
That's
do
a
something.
possibility. Of course I do. I will talk to the young lad. Daniel.
Yes, sir. Please don't
That's
kill
your
me.
name, right? You don't seem like too much of a problem. Now that those two are dead, by mysterious means, what would your story be of this whole situation? Once we get back to land.
He looks around at all of you. He sees Loretta struggling to hold Minerva back, who just has a very, like, an unconcerned look on her face. Like, just a kind of pleasant, like, just let me get over there. I'll just chop his head off. It'll be fine. Ephraim is, like, staring off into the distance. Like not even paying attention, apparently. Looking maybe a little bit green in the gills. And then you with the big old gun. Well, whatever you tell me to say, sir.
Perfect. Sounds lovely. I will put my revolver away. But first, I do need to know where you got your fish yesterday.
We were just fishing just off the north coast of the island.
Perfect.
Near the shoals. There's nothing special. But there was a
Fantastic.
But there was a it didn't feel right, sir.
What do you mean
There
it
was
didn't
something-
feel right?
There was something strange. We've been near there before. We don't usually go that close to the shoals because it's dangerous, but we figured that, well, they figured that the fish might be taking shelter. There have been so few normal ones. We thought maybe that if we got closer and took a bigger risk to the shoals, that we might find some that were normal. They weren't normal, sir. There were a few. There always are, but something about the way the fish looked at us, sir. They seemed to be watching us. One of them even seemed to... It's like it seemed to want to be caught, sir.
Intriguing. Loretta. I know you were busy holding our.
Yeah.
Let me at him.
Hmm. What do you know about fish? Do they like to be caught?
No, they don't. Why
Perfect.
are you asking me this? Dodging swipes of the cleaver pointing back at her.
Oh boy. You can handle all that fish, but you can't handle one cook.
Would you like to come try?
Hmm. I look at Daniel. You're not going to do anything, let's say,
No, so just protect
dumb.
me from her and please don't shoot me.
Fantastic.
I won't say anything. I
Get on
didn't.
the other side of the boat.
Leave the boy alone and come sit back some sense into Minerva.
But sir, where will I go now? I can't run this boat by myself.
No, you won't. We're here. Don't worry. Just stay as far away from her as possible. And, yeah. Can I disarm her?
I'm gonna say, the effects of the 7 to 9 on acting under pressure have worn off. So Minerva, I think you probably feel really good.
Yeah.
I think you
Got
feel
my daily dose of murdering.
yeah. Little, homicide a day keeps the doctor away. I think you're feeling like it's almost like there's been like when you have to dress nicely, you have to put on the whalebone corset and the bodice and all that kind of stuff, and it's just horribly, horribly itchy. And you just can't wait to be alone and you can loosen it all off and finally breathe and then scratch all those itchy places. It's like you've scratched an itch. Finally. It's been a while. And you look at Daniel and he's a child. And he doesn't trigger any desire to murder him. Not anymore. So what do you do?
Minerva will lick the blood off the knife while keeping eye contact at Daniel with like a creepy smile and then put it away.
And then just go sit back down to your knitting or something.
Yeah,
Totally
Minerva
happy.
will go back and attempt to start writing because she wants to show the captain that she was studying.
After brutally murdering 2 people.
You pull a slate out from your little bag and you start practicing your letters. That's beautiful.
Yeah, with like the blood as the ink.
Ephraim, none of this matters.
No, of course not.
There's a gunshot. There's blood spray. So, who is someone who meant a lot to you? Who you have now lost?
The first ship I served on, when I was a young sailor, I was landlubber. One of the jacks who guard the mast and do all the sails and stuff up there took me under his wing. It was a sort of an informal apprenticeship. And we got on rather well, and I think of him often.
Mm. He's there.
That's nice.
This familiar, friendly face, this person who offered you guidance and safety and protection, and a sense of home almost, is there somehow.
I go to him.
Just off the ship. Like you don't know how you didn't see it before. And you don't know how the ship hasn't crashed upon the rocks. But you are 20 feet away from the shore of an island. And he's there on the black sand, beckoning to you with a look of like, oh, I can't believe it's you. Yeah. What are you doing here? Come.
I get up and I go to the edge of the boat and I begin to climb over. And then I turn and wave at the rest of the gang before I go onto the island.
Yes. I think that's where we'll end.
Oh, great.
So, nothing's wrong. It's fine.
Yeah,
Totally fine. Now, Ephraim, you are an old sea dog. Are you the type of old sea dog that never learned to swim?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no. It makes perfect sense, though. Cool. Well, we'll see. You have to come back, even if it's only to die. So we're not writing Ephraim off yet, but it will be there. We will have to resolve the fact that Ephraim has just leapt off the ship miles from shore in the increasing cold swells of the Atlantic.
Right.
Where you have just dumped 2 bleeding bodies into the water.
I mean, hey, Loretta can save him and grab a bite to eat.
I mean,
10
that's
out
actually
of
true.
10.
It's actually true.
Best day ever.
It'll probably be fine, but would be even more trauma because then you'd have to reveal your nature to some people.
You just jump in the water after him, and
then
pull
just-
him under for a minute, and then, transfer back before you get back
Sure.
to the boat. It's fine.
Well, you have a week to strategize. So, yeah, that's it for part 1 of a planned 3 sessions of the Elwood expedition, which, by the way, we haven't even started the expedition yet. So there's much worse to come. This is all prequel. So it's fine. Yeah, why don't we do the thing that we do? We're getting ready to sign off and to go around and introduce yourself. And if you stream or are otherwise online, let people know where people can find you. This time we'll start with Tough.
All right. I am 98 Tough Love, or Tough, or Torf, or Torfulton, or some other variety of nickname. I am a variety streamer on Twitch. I stream lots of different games. Sometimes I stream TTRPGs like Masks, which we will be picking up on next Saturday, the possibly concluding episode of Masks Clockwork, so we'll see how that goes. I'm also on Twitter at the same handle, and then I'm back here for this again next Thursday. I think is when I'll next be here. So, yeah. Go Sin.
Hi, I'm Sin or Potato9_juice. I stream on Twitch, and I have the first stream of 2022 in like 3 days or so. It's on Monday, March 7th at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. There's nothing important about that day whatsoever. Yeah. I play TTRPGs with lovely people, and like the lovely is sincere. It's sincere lovely, by the way. It's not anything other than lovely. I mean, yes. So I'll be on Saturday, like not tomorrow Saturday, but like other Saturday
Next Saturday.
with Tough. And then Thursday here. Yeah. Yep. That's me. Twilight.
I have been Twilight. Next week I will be Twilight again for 5 minutes, and then I will be sitting with a music bike. And it's been a pleasure. Backwin.
You'll probably live. It'll be okay.
Probably is hearsay at this point. I am the Backwin. I stream on Twitch sometimes. I did one stream yesterday. That was it. And next time you see me is it'll be on C+ content on Sunday for Twin Falls, where I play a scientist, very smart scientist. Yeah.
Who looks like Doc Brown from Back to the Future.
He does not. You're just. That's not a. I don't know about that.
I mean, it's kind of is, but that's fine.
It's a very comfy hat.
Really? Yeah, it looks warm.
It's very warm. For here.
Cool. And I am Zero or Zero Daylight or DM or GM or Keeper or whatever. I play and run games here a lot, and then every Sunday over at the Juices TV program and Licity channel, where we do a variety of things. Our shtick is that we do all kinds of different games. A lot of them are powered by the apocalypse. Some of them are Modifius 2D20, and some of them are kind of random smaller games, and some of them are things that I write in the middle of the week for the thing that comes up on Sunday. So yeah, coming up soon, we have on Sunday, Sunday early, we have the second session of Twin Falls. Sunday evening, we have the first session of Storyville PD, which is what would happen if fairy tale characters were hard-bitten cops in a city full of crime. And then we'll be continuing the Elwood expedition for the next couple of Thursdays. On the 20th of this month, we are picking up with Teen Justice Academy Field Trip, which is our third series in Teen Justice Academy, which is Masks, a New Generation Teenage Superheroes. On the 22nd, we have The Real Thing, which is another Powered by the Apocalypse based on the music of Faith No More, in fact. And one of the creators will be here to play it with us. And then we are concluding Dastardly Deeds at Ditchwater Gulch on Thursday, the 24th. And then many things to come in April. BFF Computer, the return of Star Wars, the return of Spectrum Squad. So we have many, many things on the calendar. We should now, first, thanks everyone for coming and playing. Thanks, Twilight. This is our first time to play together. It was awesome. I think you did great.
Yeah.
It's great having you. Hopefully you won't die in the first 5 minutes of the episode. Don't worry, I tend to have long, drawn out, very painful character death scenes, so it'll take at least 10 minutes for you to die.
Yeah. that'll be fine.
But we'll see. And thanks everyone for showing up and chatting and all the boons and stuff like that. Sin, if you haven't already, would you pop the total into the game chat in Discord so we don't lose it for next time? I don't want to cheat anyone from there. I mean, I want to hold on to all the banes, let's be honest. But I don't want to cheat y'all out of the boons because you might need them when we start the very first part of next session. But we should probably go see who we ought to raid. I'm fine raiding the same people over and over. But who do we know? We are not going to raid Critical Role because they don't need it. On my list, Blinky's up, Zam's up, -2 Charisma is up. I think we enjoyed them. I'm So Psyched is up playing Sims. It's not TTRPGs, but it's very chill, and she's awesome. And I don't think we've rated her ever. But I'm very open to suggestions from you guys. If you have a different suggestion, different thought.
I'm down for some Sims.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Cool. Well, let me make sure I can type it in correctly.
Relax from all this murder.
Right. It's like, I mean, maybe she's doing
May
one of
or
those.
May not be illegal.
She could be doing a Black Widow situation. We don't know, but
Yeah,
probably
that's
not. The I've got to get the. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. It's one of those. Hopefully that works. Is it the right? Yes,
Yeah.
it's right. Yeah, it's taken. Cool. Yeah, if you are a sub, please copy the raid call with the die and the ahoy whale and the hype unicorn. If not, I will drop the one that has the emoticons in it. Grab the don't know mediocre roll emoticon. Let's show I'm So Psyched some love. She's really, really cool. We like her a lot. I think she's a friend of Meg's. I think that's how I know her. So we are going to go hang out, show her some love, and then come back and see us on Sunday and during the day and Sunday in the evening over at Juices TV and Licity. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Gotta hit the raid button. Bye.